Hello and welcome back to the Lowdown, everybody, and joining myself and Mikey McCubbin today, we've got Lyes Bouzidi. Welcome back to the Lowdown, Lyes. Guys, Liverpool have won the Premier League. That is done and dusted, but it's Champions League semi-final week. Huge week. Lyes, we're going to talk about both games. We're also going to do some predictions for the end of who we see coming out on top in the overall thing. But let's start with Arsenal and that Champions League performance in the quarterfinal against Real Madrid. Did that change where you've got them in terms of your favourites for this competition? I mean, it was just a seriously impressive performance across both games.
100%. I mean, I've taken a fair amount of heat for it, but going into that tie, I gave Arsenal close to no chance. And on the basis of how both teams have played this season, that was very, very harsh, especially with hindsight. But I looked at the pedigree of Arsenal in these European competitions, their record in these European competitions under Mikel Arteta, and then, of course, the Goliath that Real Madrid are in Europe. And I just thought to myself, like, Arsenal going to the Bernabeu, they have big players out. Real Madrid, even in the kind of form they're in, surely that's a formality. And those performances, not just at home, which was impressive enough, but then going to the Bernabeu and keeping that team quiet away from goal for 60, 70 minutes. I don't think they got their first shot on target until late in the second half. It was dominant. It was in control. They even ended up winning the second leg. I mean, Real Madrid still have not beaten Arsenal in Europe. It was a real statement for me, and one that I felt kind of reignited a fire in Arsenal, because I think this season has kind of been a little bit of a lull at times. Obviously, the Premier League title race hasn't gone how they wanted it to, being eliminated by United in the FA Cup, losing to Newcastle in that manner in the Carabao Cup semi-finals. It's kind of been an indifferent season for Arsenal, but this Champions League run that I don't think a lot of people probably saw coming has almost felt like it's reignited them, and I think now they go into this 3 games away from potential miracle or potential destiny, and they'll be backing themselves 100%, especially against the team they already have beaten this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Although they were a very different side back then, PSG. But you're right to point out just the importance of this for Arsenal. It's such a massive opportunity for a club of their stature just doesn't have that premium European history in big competitions. But what a massive opportunity. Mikey, let's talk about their opponents, and we'll get into some of the key clashes and players to watch out for. But PSG have had an amazing recovery since, November sort of time.
Yep.
But they come into this, they lost to Aston Villa away from home in the second leg of the quarterfinal. They lost their unbeaten record in Ligue 1 on Friday night. Do you think that will have any effect, or was this just a little bit of a blip from them in that game? I mean, Bulka, the Nice goalkeeper, had an unbelievable game in that.
They missed a ton of good chances
for
as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, where do you think PSG are at? Do you make them slight favourites for this, or where do you see the tie?
I think with PSG, they're considered many people's favourites for the whole competition, right? And I think that's partly because they are the best team to watch left in the competition. Actually, Barcelona are amazing to watch as well. But I think there's something about PSG. They've completed more dribbles, more take-ons than any other team in the competition. Ousmane Dembele, I think, has carried the ball into the penalty area more than any other player in the competition by a distance. Technically, that forward line is just the highest level, I think, it left in the competition. If you're looking at the 3 players, right, like you've got three wingers playing up top and interchanging. Yeah, the one on the bench isn't too bad. I mean, I was looking at it. Desiree Doué's got over 20 goal involvements in all competitions this season. It's just wild, given that he's been used sparingly compared to the rest of the forward line. So yeah, that attack is just crazy. And then when you consider that you've got basically the 2 best attacking fullbacks in world football, then with all that space to attack the box, Nuno Mendes has been playing, he's been scoring centre-forward style goals this season. You saw that one against Aston Villa. There's a reason why they are so feared. But, yeah, like we say, lost to Nice on Friday. That ended also. Fabian Ruiz was 51 games himself unbeaten in Ligue 1. That's an amazing record for any individual player. So to have lost that. Aston Villa showed that they could be got at. And Luis Enrique was saying after that game that was the most vulnerable this PSG team has been, and that Villa being able to attack so directly through them, and what is otherwise a pretty impenetrable midfield. I think there are a few alarm bells there. All it would have taken was an Ezri Konsa header, and that game, that tie would have been very, very different, I think.
And
with the
one
kind of
cleared off the line from Maatsen in the final.
Well, yeah.
Asensio one-on-one as well too. They had their chances.
You have to bear in mind as well that during that period as well, PSG were also carving through them as well. Like Emi Martinez had to make a fair few decent saves in the last 10 minutes. So PSG could have been clearer, but I do think, on a night like that at Villa Park, which, where the atmosphere was just so ferocious, and then that kind of Villa performance, like PSG can be got at. And so I think the first leg at the Emirates is going to be really, really important. Yeah. I think Arsenal need to at least not lose at the Emirates for, to stay in this semi-final, because going away to PSG in the second leg will be tougher, and Arsenal really capitalised on that, didn't they? In the quarterfinals, they just blew Madrid away at the Emirates to the point where it would have taken a bit of a miracle for Real Madrid to stage a comeback in the second leg. So I think that's where a lot's going to rest on that first leg. But as for individual battles, I think the midfield's going to be really, really important. I think what will it be, like Rice?
Potentially Marino. But
Marino, but then he's only just coming back from injury.
I think
and
Marino
would rather
has to be up front. I think in the form that he's kind of shown in Europe. I think it's going to be a great tie. You know the one for me that I really look at with that midfield battle, I look at how Villa kind of got at them, and they absolutely did. That was the most flustered I've seen Vitinha and João Neves all season long. And I think a big reason for that is because of how narrow Aston Villa play. They don't play with traditional wingers. They kind of do play with these wide tens, and with the likes of Rodgers and McGinn, and all of these guys are kind of just crowding the midfield. I felt like it really destabilized PSG's midfield control, which has been ridiculous. Like we talk about their forwards, we talk about the fullbacks, but Vitinha and João Neves, along with Fabiano Ruiz, of course, run that team. You destabilize Vitinha, who I think this season in Champions League has the highest metrics in terms of passes completed, vertical passes, touches completed. You destabilize that guy, and you can sort of get at PSG. So I think that'll be a big area for Arsenal, not just in terms of their midfielders, but in terms of also the likes of Lewis-Skelly kind of coming in, inverted timber as well too. The wingers, they're going to have to drop deep as well too.
But I guess in that sense, maybe it does would make sense for Marino to be in that midfield just so he can
potentially, 100%. I just think with Marino, it's like the way Marino's playing up front. Do you kind of want to change that? And also Declan Rice in that more advanced number 8 position, bring him deeper, and then putting Marino in his place. Does that kind of not kill, but again destabilize what Arsenal have kind of had going for them in Europe so far?
Yeah.
Do you change the winning formula? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think also the key will be with the fullbacks as well, right? Because Saka and Martinelli in great form, especially against Real Madrid, keeping Hakimi and Mendes pushed back is going to be absolutely key. I think that's, otherwise I can see that Arsenal defence, as good as it is, but without Gabriel, I can see them getting overrun a little bit. Because that attack, a 5-pronged attack, is just ridiculous. Yeah. So I think that's going to be key for them as well.
And Lewis-Skelly had such an outstanding quarter-final, and so did Timber. I thought Timber was immense as well. Yeah. But Lewis-Skelly against Rodrigo just completely nullified him in both games. But this is a completely different level of test, having Hakimi and Kvicha Kvaratskhelia on your side.
And also Dembele will just be there as well. And he'll have to take on all three of them at once.
PSG's attack, they changed, man. You'll have Kvaratskhelia 1 second, 10 minutes later Dembele will be on your side. Then Barcola or Doué will be on your side, and then Hakimi's overlapping. It's crazy. Yeah.
It's exhausting to even think about. It's going to be an absolute epic. And we saw in that quarterfinal as well, Jakub Kiwior, who was under enormous pressure going into that as Gabriel's replacement. I think he really rose to the occasion after a few shaky moments, maybe in the first 10 minutes or so of the first leg. I thought he was absolutely immense. But again, Ousmane Dembele has proven almost impossible for any side to stop so far in 2025 at least. Yeah. So that's a massive test. And then, you're looking at Saka against Nuno Mensch is just a clash that I think could be one of the ages. And you saw Nuno Mensch absolutely nullify Salah in the first leg in Paris in that last 16. And I thought he was absolutely immense in that. And Salah at that moment was in a little bit of a dip of form. But this just does feel like a side that's a completely different test to Real Madrid in terms of the momentum they've got, in terms of the form of some of their key players, in terms of how well they work as a team as well. Yeah. Exactly. I feel like Real Madrid just felt like a much bigger team of individuals. But I suppose the big concern, Lies, and we've kind of already touched on it, is Partey being suspended for a silly yellow card in that second leg. Jorginho's out, Marino dropping in. Maybe they even consider putting Lewis-Skelly in midfield, but then you have to play Zinchenko or I don't know, some
It
other
just
left back.
Or you put
everything,
Timber at left back, and if
Yeah.
Ben White's fit,
And
have
also,
him at
as
right
you
back,
say,
but-
Rice was so immense as a free 8 in that Real Madrid game. I feel like that is a key weapon for them as well. If you were Mikel Arteta, how are you sort of configuring this side?
It's so difficult. I mean, Lewis-Skelly hasn't, as far as I know, hasn't played midfield at professional level. I know his upbringing is as a midfielder. If he's able to kind of, again, just slot into this position seamlessly like he did at left back and continue playing at then this kid is even more special than I already think he is. It would be incredible. Declan Rice, man, the guy's on a little N'Golo Kante run at the moment. If you guys remember his run when Chelsea won the Champions League, in terms of just the guy that has the license to cover every blade of grass he wants to, win duels all across the pitch, whether it's in his own third, whether it's in the final third. Obviously, has shown an eye for goal, a real eye for goal this season as well too. Do you take that away by kind of putting him as Partey's replacement? I feel like Declan Rice just is so much more than that, and you don't want to kind of limit him in that way. I don't know where they go. Maybe it's maybe you're right. Maybe you want to keep Rice there. You bring Marino back deeper, and then you play Trossard, who also is
good scoring run.
he's back amongst the goals as well too after a kind of dry spell for him. It will be interesting to see where Arteta goes with that. I mean, but to give credit to him, right? He's had injuries throughout this Champions League run, big ones that I personally thought would nullify his team, would stop his team, and every time he's kind of found a solution. So who am I to doubt him this time?
Yeah, I mean, an 8-match unbeaten run in the Champions League, given the calibre of opposition they played as well, really special from Arsenal.
Yeah.
After a slowish start, I think, to this year's competition for sure. It's actually their best unbeaten run since 2006, when, of course, they made the final, playing Barcelona. Let's see what happens. But if we had to predict a winner this time, we'll get into the second semi-final as well. Mikey, who is your money on?
Oh God, it's really tough. I honestly think this what makes these. I think these are the hardest Champions League semi-finals to call in years.
For
I
sure.
think it's the
You
most
can make a
interesting
good claim for anyone to win it, I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'm just so happy that we finally got a semi-finals that doesn't involve Manchester City or Real Madrid. It's just so great. Like what the last team out of any of these to win the Champions League was Barcelona 10 years ago. Then it would have been Inter in 2010, and obviously PSG, Arsenal have never won it. So yeah, and just I don't know, just the tactical differences, I think. Oh God, it's really tough. I'm.
Gotta go with someone.
Maybe I'll give it to Arsenal. I think there's just something about the defensive solidity of this Arsenal team that sets them apart. And I think across two legs, they will still be quite hard to break down. PSG, obviously, attacking wise, are a kind of test that they've not come up against. But defensively, I think this Arsenal side is a test that PSG haven't really had to face this season. I think Arsenal could also get a result away as well. Like, I don't think that's a foregone conclusion. So yeah, I'm sticking my neck out here. But there's just something I think across two legs that I think Arsenal are a better defensive side than PSG. Donnarumma amazing in the quarterfinals, but we saw against Nice, like, he does have a mistake in him. Yeah, I'm going to give it to Arsenal.
Lies.
It's kind of an interesting subplot amongst all of this that I don't think a lot of people are talking about, is the fact that, and for the first time in a while, by the way, because I think over the last few years we've seen Man City and Real Madrid do something really well in Europe, and that's kind of aging as the competition goes on in terms of, I say aging, they age like a fine wine almost.
Yeah.
As the year goes on, they get stronger and stronger and stronger, and when it's about April, May, June time, they almost feel like they're in their final form, ready to kind of take this competition by storm. When I look at Barca, Inter, and I guess you can say PSG as well too, because they have had their stumblings of late, I do feel like they are almost kind of stumbling over the finish line. It's been a long season. You're hearing guys like Pedri talk about how exhausted he is after these games. Inter are dead on their feet. We'll talk about them a little as well too. And PSG, of course, have had their, I want to say issues. They've dropped a few games. Not the end of the world, right? I find that so interesting compared to how Madrid and City have done it. It's almost like, damn, the Champions League is coming now. Like, we just want the season to kind of be over with. Arsenal are such a unique case in amongst this, right? Because their season has effectively been over for a few months now. The Premier League, they're playing reserve sides. They've been out of the cup competitions. They only really have to focus on this. And I almost think to myself, does that give them an advantage? Do I think they are as good a side as Barcelona? Maybe not. But are they kind of maybe in a better position to take advantage of this competition compared to the other three sides? Perhaps. And when I look at this tie in particular, I think the physicality aspect of it as well too, along with the fitness, could maybe see Arsenal sneak past them, but I think it's going to be extremely difficult. And I think anybody kind of looking back at the earlier meeting between these two sides is ill-advised. This is a completely different side that we saw from PSG.
Yeah.
But maybe I give Arsenal the slight advantage.
I mean, everyone's been talking about PSG's amazing, previous unbeaten run going, I think it was 30 games. They've now lost 3 since November. Really, really impressive. Arsenal have only lost 4 since November.
Yeah,
since
they've had
the
a lot
same
of draws,
period.
though, in
Loads
that
of draws,
period, yeah.
loads of draws. But I just think at the moment, I'm sneaking towards Arsenal as well. I thought it was the most impressive quarter-final display of any side. And I do think they can cause issues to PSG defensively. And I feel like, I'm kind of with you. I feel like their momentum hasn't been so affected, unlike Inter, which we'll come on to, and PSG in recent weeks
look at
as well.
the last few weeks, Arsenal are playing their second squad every single week in the Premier League. They've basically accepted that the league is out of their hands. You look at PSG, Inter, and Barca, they're playing their strongest guys
Fighting on all
every
fronts,
single week, and a lot of them are, like I said, dead on their feet. I think that has to be an advantage for Arsenal.
For sure. I mean, the only counter-argument to that is PSG don't have a single injury going into this, whereas
Of course.
Arsenal, no Gabriel.
Yeah.
It wasn't decisive.
And they've also already won Ligue 1 as well, haven't
Yeah.
they? So it's not like they're having to, focus that much on that, even though their form isn't the best.
Okay, well, we're all backing Arsenal.
I'm not backing Arsenal. I think Arsenal might win. I'm not backing
Okay. Very different. Key difference there from Lyes. Let's talk about Barcelona into Milan. Lyes, I know you're watching the Copa del Rey final on Saturday night. Amazing result for Barcelona. Really entertaining game. Chaotic ending, etc. What did you take from it in terms of where Barcelona are at right now? Obviously, 120 minutes, not ideal. We'll come on to Inter's form, but where do you think Barcelona are at mentally right now?
Exhausted. Don't get it twisted. Exhausted. And I've watched Barcelona for the whole season, right? But their performances of the last few weeks are a team that are fatigued. It's a team that, first of all, play at such an incredible intensity when they play. They play a high line. They're all out attack. They're so fun to watch. But it has been a team over the last few weeks that are getting results just about. I mean, even against Dortmund, they just about got over that.
Horrible.
Against Celta Vigo a week or two, came down from 3-1 down. But that's the story of Barcelona's season. It doesn't matter what kind of adversity you throw at them. It doesn't matter what kind of defensive scheme you throw at them, how many goals you score against them. They always seem to score one more than you. And I think they have this incredible togetherness this season, this incredible mentality that even despite injuries to Lewandowski, to Balde, to Gavi at times as well too, they just seem to kind of find a way. That game against Real Madrid was not easy. And if anything, it probably showcased Barcelona's flaws in terms of their vulnerability on the break. At times, their midfield can be outmuscled at times, but it also, at the same time, showcased their strengths. In attack, these guys are absolutely relentless. They have so much individual quality. They can kill you at any single moment. And I think also, more than anything, it showcased what kind of manager Hansi Flick is. He's a manager that plays with risk. He's a manager that fully accepts that his team can be got at. But he is willing to die on his footballing philosophy, which for me, if you're a neutral, is the ideal philosophy. You can tell me there's no right way to win football games, right? But everyone wants to see fast, fun, exciting, high-scoring football. Hansi Flick guarantees that. And again, like I'm going to say one more time, no Lewandowski, no problem. No Balde, no problem. Next guy up. Ferran Torres has been so big for them this season. Fermin has been so big for them. Eric Garcia coming in as a number 6 at times has been so big for them. In my opinion, they are the favorites of this competition, and they're on course to get another treble.
Yeah, and you look at the star quality, particularly like Rafinha and Lamine Yamal, like the composure that he showed even on the weekend, just setting up those 2 goals. Pedri's goal, I think, really went under the radar.
Pedri in general, not just the goal. Pedri in general has gone completely under the radar.
He's been best midfielder in the world this season, if I'm totally honest. So I think he's been absolutely amazing. And they're coming up against an Inter side, Mikey, that are unfortunately having their worst moment of what was a almost faultless campaign. But it's all kind of fallen apart in the last 10 days.
Really has, man. I mean, if you watched a bit of that, the Roma game on the weekend, and it's just like, they were a really poor version of themselves, were got at so easily. I think they conceded nearly 3 XG against Roma, and I know Roma are having an amazing, run under Claudio Ranieri, but like what a job he is doing there. Like they, got them on the verge of Champions League qualification, but that Roma team is not, they're not an amazing attacking outfit, and I think that was the most high quality chances Inter have conceded in a Serie A game this season. So this semi-final's not come at a good time for them. They've had a 36-year-old Marko Arnautovic playing more and more games recently, and to be fair, he has contributed with goals, but they desperately need Marcus Thuram back in this side against Barcelona, I think, because
100%.
like Lyes is saying, this Barcelona team can be got at. Like you saw, I think they've been missing Balde for the last 4 games, and they're hoping he can make it back. I mean, he came on, of course, for the last half an hour was it of the Copa del Rey, but big game for him to then come back and start after a hamstring injury. But with Gerard Martin at left back, they're just they don't quite have as much recovery pace as they would normally have, and I think they've conceded 8 goals in the last 4 games. So I think having that first choice front pairing is really, really important for Inter, because I think they do still have a big chance in this game if you've got Thuram and Lautaro and Denzel Dumfries attacking down the right.
Been a big loss for them.
If they have to play Darmian again, that's such a that's another weapon that they can't use. So that's going to be key for them. I think for both sides actually. If Balde doesn't start but Dumfries can start, then that's massive. If Balde starts and Dumfries can't, then again that's a massive headache that Barcelona won't have. So but I mean for Barcelona it's just wild. You would not have I don't think you would have asked anyone, they would have said that they'd be on course for a treble this year at the start of the season. And if Hansi Flick can do it, that's what their 3rd treble in 16 years.
That's insane.
I mean,
it's his 2nd treble in about 6.
I know, madness.
He's only managed club teams for about 3 years, and totally could win 2 trebles.
And I think I think there's it just goes to show what an amazing appointment he is. When you hear about the feeling around the club and what Hansi Flick has brought, it's kind of what we've been kind of getting at over the last few years in terms of Barcelona's managerial appointments. To have someone who has no previous connection to the club, who isn't Spanish, has never managed in Spain before, doesn't feel any pressure from the Spanish press or the history of the club to play a particular way or to act a certain way or to treat the players a certain way. And it's just the relief around the club. They just haven't played with any fear at all this season. I mean, if they were to do a treble and then, the women's side on course for another treble as well. I mean, you saw their performance against Chelsea on the weekend.
Ridiculous.
I mean, I can't, has there been a club that has done, where the men's team and the women's team has done a treble, in the same season? I'm not sure.
Lyon's men really letting down the sides. What a season Barca are having. So I think in terms of momentum, and especially just coming off a Copa del Rey victory, I know they're knackered, but they certainly have the momentum going into this tie. But I think tactically this is even more interesting because Inter, I think Inter are the most tactically settled team left in this competition. The way that they've played under Inzaghi over the last few years, it's just he's got that formula down to a T. Whereas Barcelona still relatively green in terms of the way that they play football, are a much younger side. Inter, you've got Çalhanoğlu and Mkhitaryan in that team. They are a really old team. One of the oldest in Europe. I think it's
I got a stat for you here, right?
Oh, no, let's have it.
22 players for Inter have played over 500 minutes this season. Of those 22, 12 of them are over the age of 29. 7 of them are over the age of 32. 5 of them are over the age of 35. Wow, this is a team that are, with all due respect, ancient.
Yeah.
The problem for them as well, too, you're talking about the depth for both sides and injuries. I just think Barca are so much better equipped with some of the names I already mentioned to deal with some of these injuries. They can bring guys off the bench without too much of an impact. You look at Inter this season, the injuries have killed them. The minutes to older players have killed them. The failure in the January transfer window to properly kind of back up the guys that they do have has killed them. I think Marcus Thuram is a massive, massive loss. Everyone has talked about Lautaro this season. Personally, I think Lautaro was even better last year. I think Marcus Thuram has actually been, and for my reckoning, Inter's most impressive attacker. And I think his hold-up play and his relationship with Lautaro is integral to this team. And I think Dumfries on the right, they don't have a replacement for him. The fact that Darmian, who typically plays as a center back and a 3, is now being asked to play as a wing back at his current age, it kind of sums it up. I think Barca's youth, I think their depth, I think the form that they kind of go into this game, it will be too much for Inter, man. It's a shame because Inter have been incredible this season, and they are an incredible team. Inzaghi's an incredible manager, but man, it just goes back to what I'm saying. This part of the season is coming at the worst possible time for them. They were on course for a treble, and their season within a week has kind of basically disintegrated.
It's real Leverkusen 2002 vibes, isn't it? It's painful to watch because they have deserved more from this season, and it looks like they're not going to win Serie A. I mean, there's still a lot of games to go, but they've got to play Lazio, they've got to play Como on the final day.
Yeah.
They've obviously got these 2 games against Barcelona. Napoli have McSauce in just unbelievable form right now. I think he scored 5 of their last 6 league goals, and they've won all 3 games. It's absolutely crazy.
Those tomatoes have just powered him, haven't they?
He's loving the tomatoes. He's loving playing out there, and you can understand why. And I totally hear both of your points about Marcus Thuram. Marcus Thuram's ability to run in behind and stretch play would have been absolutely amazing against this Barcelona side that play a fairly suicidal high line at points.
Yeah.
And Arnautovic or Taremi or whatever, it's just not the same threat, and they're not coming into it with nearly the same form whatsoever. And it just does feel, I think it's 9 Inter players have played over 40 games this year. No Napoli player has played over 35. So that is just a complete 5 games, 6 games at this stage of the season knackers you compared to Napoli. So, Conte, let's see what you can do if you're even going to be there next year when you're back in the Champions League as well. But Barca, strong favourites. I mean, is anyone backing Inter? I thought they were even quite fortunate to get here. I thought Bayern probably were the better side across both games in the quarterfinal as well. Mike, if you had to have a score prediction maybe across the tie.
I guess the one thing in Inter's favour is that they have come through bigger tests to get here. Like, I think Barcelona, out of the 4 sides left in the competition, I think have had by far the easiest run. They I think Bayern were and Dortmund as well, but they were the only 2 real big sides that they played in the groups, whereas Inter had to come through. They beat Arsenal at home. They've come through quite a few tests. Of course, had to play a really good, I think, quite an underrated Bayern side in the quarterfinals.
Whereas Barca had Benfica and then
Benfica
Dortmund.
And then Dortmund, yeah. I just think there's something about this Inter side. I think tactically they are very, very sound. And Inzaghi has an amazing record in European, or in cups, not necessarily just in European competition, but in the cups in general. Obviously, Flick does as well in the Champions League in particular. I don't know. Barca are relentless.
It's a case of styles make fights, right?
I might go for an upset here. I just think, I don't know. There's something about this Inter side where I think it's also like the pain of what's happened domestically as well. I think could power them through, and this Barcelona side maybe that high line will get found out. There is the possibility that Dumfries and Thuram can make these fixtures, so I wouldn't write them off in that sense. I'm going to go Inter. I feel like I've gone for the underdogs in both of these games, but yeah,
love it. Feeling the underdog, Lyes.
I love Inter, man. Honestly, I think 2 weeks ago this would have been way close. I still think it's going to be close. I completely agree with you. You can never count out this Inter team. I think tactically they're so just confident within themselves. Like, they understand their system better than any team left in this competition. And Inzaghi, as you say, in knockout football, I mean, unless it's against Milan, who this year have just had their number, but he's for me one of the best knockout managers in the world, period. But I just look at them these last 7 or 8 games, and they are just dead on their feet. I feel like I've said this expression about them so many times today, but they are just knackered. And I just look at Barcelona at the moment. It just looks like a train that is headed to their destination, like it or not. Like, there is nothing that's stopping them from getting to that final. 2 weeks ago, I think it would have been very interesting. This time around, I think Barca will have too much for them.
Fair. Okay. Overall winner, and we could look very, very silly because obviously we need to find out who's even in the final. I'm going to put it out there. I think Arsenal are going to win the whole thing. I genuinely think at this stage of the competition, freshness comes into it, of course, but also just generally sides with a very good defence have a very decent chance.
Are you backing Barcelona to get into the final?
Yeah, I mean that is a fascinating game, and you can make, as we've kind of said all the way along, Barca Arsenal.
It's the same as the women's too, no?
Yeah,
there you go.
Exactly, and a repeat of 2006, of course. Barcelona have much greater European history than Arsenal. They've got players that have won huge tournaments in recent history. Of course, the Copa del Rey, but the Euros. So many of that squad were involved with the Euros as well. But I've just got a feeling that it's Arsenal's time. I really do. That performance in 2 games against Real Madrid, and look, it's a fairly poor Real Madrid side by usual standards, but I thought that showed a lot of grit and determination and quality as well. And I think they can hurt this Barcelona high line. So I'm putting it out there. I think Arsenal are going to win the whole thing.
Wow.
Lyes.
I got Barca, man.
Arsenal
definitely could win the whole thing. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to count them out. I learned my lesson with that already. But they can, but I just look at this Barca team and I think there's too much quality, man. I just think there's too much quality and there's way too much attacking firepower. And in as many ways as I think Arsenal can hurt Barca, I think Barca can hurt them in just as many ways on the other side. And with Yamal, Lau will be back as well too, Rafinha, Pedro. I see it as Barca. I think it's Barca's year,
They've got
honestly.
a title race right to the end, though. They've
That's
got an El
true.
Clasico to come
That's
in the
true.
league.
But their momentum right now is just crazy. And I do think that's a real thing in sports, man. Like the direction that this team is going, the trajectory, I don't see anyone stopping them. Seriously. I have Barca winning it all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think for Barca to win it, there's kind of got to be that momentum, right? They've kind of got to win that Clasico, or at least not lose it, and have that like win the league.
I think this was a big one, this last one this weekend. I think it was huge for them.
Yeah, massive.
Especially coming back from 2-1 down as well. That could have been a bit of a disaster.
And also how much toxicity was around the game before. Like if, with the referee who was clearly quite intimidated going into the game, that very contentious call at the end to overturn the penalty decision for Barcelona. If Barca lose that game, then suddenly there's a really bad feeling around, because I think they probably feel a bit like victims from the game and stuff, but to have come through it, I think it speaks volumes about their character. But I've somehow put Inter in the final, so I don't know where this is
Your
going.
final. I was going to say it's so interesting because you have a potential purists final, right, in terms of Barca versus PSG, and you have Arsenal Inter with the tactical. So that's chess match.
I think Arsenal have a better chance against Barcelona personally than Inter.
Yeah,
I think Inter's a really
fights,
nasty
man.
matchup
Styles
for
make
Arsenal.
fights for sure.
I don't know. I think they probably do Inter at
You
that
reckon?
point. I think just by the end of the season, Inter will be more knackered, and especially if Inter have lost Serie A, having tried really, really hard to claw it back against Napoli. I think Arsenal will just be a lot fresher. Whereas, if it was Arsenal versus Barcelona, there's a bit more momentum on the other side. So somehow I didn't go into this video thinking that I would have Arsenal winning the Champions League, but somehow I've backed myself into a corner here. And they're doing it. So yeah.
Oh, I mean, Arsenal fans will be furious that I backed them because I famously get my predictions very wrong. So let's see what happens.
I haven't been doing too hot myself either. So. PSG's winning the Champions League.
Either way, they are going to be two fascinating ties. Guys, get your thoughts about both of them. What you think the key battles are going to be in the comments section. Massive thanks to Lyes. Lyes, if people want to watch more of your content, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube, just my name, Lyes Bouzidi, Twitch, Instagram, everywhere these days. But YouTube and Twitch is the main ones.
Top man. And rooting for an SDS win tonight in Baller League.
That's the most important one of all this weekend, honestly.
Much needed. Guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you next week. Bye-bye.